You don't belong here, someone sneered as laughter ricocheted through the room. He poured cola down my lap at his grandmother's birthday. Happy birthday, he added, and the relatives around him roared. I stood there drenched, the sticky smell of soda and shame clinging to me. No one stopped him, not my brother, not his father. The father raised his glass and said, "Kids will be kids," as if that excused everything. I'm Hannah Miles. I'm 32. That night I learned that family laughter can cut deeper than any insult. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I excused myself, went to the restroom, cleaned what I could, and slipped out while their laughter chased me down the hallway. Outside, the air was cold and clean compared to the room I'd left. I sat in my car and let the memories roll in. Every time my brother mocked my smaller apartment, every time Mom told me to be grateful he invited me anywhere. They mistook my silence for weakness. I knew better. Silence was how I gathered power. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a headline from a local finance blog. Bank repossesses luxury SUV from businessman Daniel Miles after default notice. Daniel, my brother. He had no idea the woman who arranged the audit worked for me. He had no idea that while he'd been laughing at me, I'd been documenting, calculating, and waiting. 2 months before that birthday, Daniel had asked me to review his company books. He bragged about his small real estate firm, Miles & Company, said he needed a second set of eyes before applying for a major loan. I found creative accounting everywhere. Fake invoices, unreported income, unpaid property taxes. When I warned him, he smirked. "You always worry too much, Hannah. That's why you'll always work for someone else." So I kept copies. Every file, every forged signature. When his laughter echoed around the dining room and soda soaked my skirt, I already knew what I would do. At 9 a.m. the next morning, I forwarded the documents, anonymously, to the bank's fraud review team. Not for revenge. For justice. Fate had sharp timing. The SUV they towed that morning was the same one parked like a trophy outside Grandma's party. By evening, the family group chat was chaos. Mom sent a long message about how embarrassing it was that Daniel's car had been repossessed in front of the neighbors. Daniel blamed a banking error. Jenna, his wife, wrote, "Maybe if people didn't hold grudges, karma wouldn't find its way home." Karma. The word almost made me laugh. At noon I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Miss Miles," the voice said briskly. "This is Officer Whitman with the County Fraud Division. We're investigating irregularities connected to Miles & Company. Your name appeared in the audit trail as a prior consultant." My stomach tightened. I'd helped review their accounts months ago. "Why?" I asked. "There's been a formal complaint," he said. "Mr. Miles claims you accessed his company data unlawfully." The audacity took my breath away. My brother, caught red-handed, was trying to make me the scapegoat. I stayed calm. "Officer," I said, "I still have all my written authorization and the email he sent granting access. Would you like me to forward it?" "Pause. That would be helpful." By noon the police had my emails, complete with Daniel's digital signature. By 4 the bank cleared my name and opened an internal investigation into his loan history. That night I sat at my kitchen table watching rain streak down the window. My phone buzzed. "Daniel. You think you're smart? You've ruined my life." I typed back one sentence, "You did that yourself." Then I blocked his number. For years I'd carried the weight of being the quiet one, the overlooked daughter, the good girl who never fought back. Somewhere between the spilled cola and the police call, that girl stopped existing. I was no longer part of their stage show of perfection. Before dawn the next day another headline flashed across my screen. Local real estate firm accused of tax evasion and fraudulent loan activity. Owner under federal review. Daniel's smug expression, the one he wore at family dinners, stared out from every screen in town. I hadn't planned for that. I'd only sent the documents to stop him from scamming the bank again, not to ignite an investigation that would topple his empire. By noon the phone was aflame. "Hannah, you've gone too far," Mom screamed. "Your brother's business is collapsing. You should have kept this private." "Private?" I repeated, stunned. "You mean like how he humiliated me last night? Or how he forged client records?" There was a long, shaky silence. For once Mom didn't have an answer. They wanted me to be small. To be polite. To accept their jokes as harmless. Instead I'd watched them make a choice and I'd made mine. They will remember the sound of my name now because I refused to be the punchline of their perfection any longer. And if they ever try to pour shame over me again, I know exactly where to keep the receipt. So did Dad when Daniel drained his savings years ago. Did you care then? Silence. It was the first time Mom didn't defend him. Hours later, a message popped up from Jenna, my brother's wife. I hope you're happy. We're losing everything. I almost deleted it, but my hand hesitated. Happy wasn't the word. Relieved maybe. Or free. That night I walked through the city, lights glimmering across wet pavement. I passed the restaurant where they had laughed at me just days before. Their names still sat on the reservation list by the window. I stood there for a long moment, breathing in the cold air before whispering to myself, maybe now they'll learn what belonging really means. But fate wasn't done teaching lessons. Before sunrise, my phone pinged with an email from someone I hadn't heard from in years. The subject line read, "About your mother." It was from Thomas Avery, my late father's former lawyer. Just seeing his name made my chest tighten. He'd handled Dad's estate years ago, back when Daniel convinced Mom to simplify the inheritance. I opened the email slowly. Hannah, your father's file resurfaced during a property audit. There's a discrepancy in the asset transfer records, specifically regarding the diner property your father owned before his death. Please contact me immediately. It concerns your legal share. My pulse quickened. I remembered that diner, our childhood home, before Dad supposedly sold it to Daniel to pay off taxes. When I met Thomas at his office, he handed me a thin folder. Your father didn't sell it, he said quietly. He placed it in a family trust, half in your name, half in Daniel's. But after the funeral, Daniel submitted falsified paperwork to transfer full ownership to himself. I stared at the signature. Dad's name, shaky, uneven, dated 2 days after his death. Forged. Thomas's voice softened. You can press charges or reclaim your share. It's your choice. I left his office shaking. All those years of being told I had nothing, of being mocked for struggling while Daniel thrived, it had all been stolen. By evening, my lawyer had filed a petition to reopen the estate. That night, as I sat on my balcony, I imagined Daniel's face when he received the court notice. The man who once said I didn't belong was about to watch his empire crumble, piece by piece and legally this time. But the biggest shock wasn't the property. It was the name listed under co-conspirator. I reread the word until it blurred. According to the documents, she had co-signed the fake transfer after Dad's death, claiming the diner was part of Daniel's business portfolio. In exchange, he'd been wiring her monthly consulting payments for years. It felt like being drenched again, not in cola this time but betrayal. I sat in my car outside her house for almost an hour before finally knocking. She opened the door, startled, robe pulled tight. Hannah, it's late. I found the transfer papers, I said. My voice came out calm, almost foreign. Her expression flickered, guilt first, then defiance. You don't understand what your father left me with. Death stress. Daniel helped by simplifying things. He promised he'd give you something eventually. I laughed bitterly. He did. Public disgrace. She flinched but didn't deny it. You always wanted to punish us, she hissed. You enjoy watching your family fall apart. Family. I whispered. That word means nothing if you have to buy it. She didn't follow when I turned away. The door clicked shut and for the first time it didn't hurt. Back home I called Thomas. Proceed with everything, I said. No settlements. The next morning, Daniel's lawyer called. Your brother wants to negotiate. I smiled faintly. Tell him I'll see him in court. When I hung up, a strange calm settled over me, the kind that comes when the storm finally finds its target. But life has a way of circling back one last time. Because the next message on my phone wasn't from a lawyer. It was from Jenna. He's missing. For a moment I just stared at the words. The irony almost made me laugh. Daniel, the man who thought he owned everything, had vanished when the walls closed in. I called Jenna immediately. She sounded frantic. He didn't come home last night. His phone's off. The police found his car parked near the old diner. The diner. Our father's diner. The same one he'd stolen on paper. By the time I got there, the parking lot was surrounded by yellow tape. Officers milled about, radios crackling in the early light. One recognized me. Miss Miles. We found his briefcase inside. We believe he came here last night. The smell of dust and grease filled the air. The place hadn't changed since Dad's time. Checkered floors, faded menus, ghosts of memory. Daniel's notebook lay open on the counter. Inside, his handwriting was jagged, rushed. I messed up. Tell Hannah I didn't mean to. I just wanted to make things right before it all fell apart. They found him 2 hours later, asleep in his car by the docks, disoriented, exhausted but alive. The investigation would continue, but something inside me shifted that day. For the first time I didn't feel anger, just clarity. That night I stood in the empty diner as the neon sign flickered above me. Dad, I whispered, it's over. As it was. The lies, the favoritism, the humiliation, all of it had finally come full circle. But there was still one thing left to do. The next morning I met Thomas one last time and slid an envelope across his desk. Transfer it all, I said. He blinked. All of it? You're sure? I nodded. Half to Dad's scholarship fund for trade students, the one he always dreamed of starting. The rest to local shelters. You don't want to keep anything? He asked softly. I smiled. I already kept what mattered, my peace. When I left his office, the city air felt lighter. The storm that had shadowed me since childhood had finally cleared. Later that evening I returned to the diner one last time. The faded fist sign still hung crookedly in the window. I stepped inside, letting the scent of old coffee and memory fill the silence. On the counter I placed a photo of Dad and me, the one he kept near the register. Beneath it I left a note. For every girl told she doesn't belong, may she build her own table. As I walked out, my phone buzzed with a message from Jenna. Daniel entered rehab. He asked me to tell you he's sorry. For once I believed her. Maybe it wasn't redemption, but it was a start. I stood on the sidewalk watching the sun dip behind the old diner sign. The letters flickered one last time before going dark. And for the first time in years I didn't feel invisible. I felt free. Not because they fell, but because I finally stopped needing their approval to stand tall. My story didn't end in revenge. It ended in release.